In this video we are going to take a closer look at the March Deathwatch tournament results, focusing on the continued appearances of our Army of Renown, the Kill Team Strike Force. The tournaments covered are the Manchester Super Major, Adepticon 2022, Confrontation Redemption, Last of the Summer Winehammer 2, as well as the Honorable Mention. Over the course of the video, we will go through all the relevant results and lists in an attempt to find out whether the Deathwatch supplement still stands a chance against the newer and more powerful codex releases. For the final part, I will offer my personal conclusions and a quick wrap-up.
Welcome to SwissHammer, your channel for modeling in Warhammer 40k. My name is Tammer and I will be guiding you through this video.
Diving right into the first tournament, the Manchester Super Major, I think it is worth looking at a few overall tournament numbers. Out of 173 total players, only 24 played Space Marines, which is roughly 14%. Out of these, only 3 managed the top 50 placement, with Michael Costello on rank 31 achieving the highest Space Marines placement, representing Deathwatch once more. Also worth mentioning is that Dark Angels had the biggest attendance with almost 30% of Space Marines, followed by both Blood Angels and Deathwatch with a bit more than half of that. Shout out to the lone Crimson Fists player participating at the event. Overall, I think these numbers speak volumes about just how poor the Space Marines are doing as a faction at the moment, though it is good to see that Deathwatch still counts among those chapters that are somewhat competitive. For Deathwatch attendance, as previously mentioned, Michael Costello on rank 31 went 3-1-1 with the following matchups. Round 1 a win against Sisters, Round 2 a draw against Tau, Round 3 a win against Custodes, Round 4 a win against Craftworld, and Round 5 a loss against Custodes. Certainly no easy matchups there. While he remained true to his by now famous Army of Renown list, he made several interesting changes. First and perhaps most noticeable, the captain on bike carrying the Dominus Sieges now got replaced by a slash captain with jump pack, Xenophase Blade and Imperium Sword. Being able to cut through invuls, while giving up the protective bubble for the Indomitor, reflects how he is always trying to optimize his list according to changes in the meta, even though our own toolset remains static for the time being. The rest of the HQs are the same as before. Then for troops, he still rocks the Indomitor brick for maximizing Specialism Extremis and 3 of his signature Costello-style Proteus kill teams, though on these he changed around some war gear, adding more storm shields, and also a third Terminator in 2 out of the 3. Then last and not least, his Spectre's kill team is now going even cheaper with 5 Infiltrators, 1 Incursor and 4 Reavers, sacrificing some deployment options. He then also swapped the Phobos Warlord trait accordingly, going for Shoot and Fade over the previously used Lord of Deceit. This one makes me wonder whether this was simply a necessity because he put more points into the Proteus kill teams instead. All in all, yet another sensible iteration of a very solid Army of Renown list. Following on rank 72, we have once more Jim Maynard, going 3-2. His matchups were Thousand Suns, Tau, Orcs, Imperial Guard and Orcs once more. For his list, staying true to the list of Michael Costello, there are nonetheless a few noteworthy changes. Dominus Sieges on the Captain, a Terminator variant of the Librarian, as well as the original Spectre's kill team variant by Michael Costello, with the 5 Incursors and the Lord of Deceit Warlord trait. Certainly a great list as well. Then finally, on rank 95 we have Aidan Brocklehurst and Phillip Roebuck on rank 112, both going 2-3 with very similar Costello-style Army of Renown lists. There are some minor changes to war gear of the kill teams, as well as Aidan taking Last Fusil Eliminators in his Spectre's kill team, and Phillip dropping the captain for a Judiciar with the ties that bind. All of these Deathwatch lists are certainly worth a look, the link is in the description. Moving on to the second tournament, the big Adepticon 2022 with 256 players. Out of all these, 40 plate Space Marines, which is a bit above 15%, so slightly higher compared to the Manchester Supermajor, but still pretty low given the faction. Only 8 Space Marine lists made it into the top 100, with the highest one being Ultramarines on rank 10 and the highest Deathwatch on rank 85, ending up as the 6th best placed Space Marines player. Pretty sad if you think about it. What's perhaps a bit surprising is that William Kim on the mentioned rank 85 did not play the Army of Renown, going 2-2, facing Necrons, Genestealer cults, Admech and Dark Angels. Not meaning to discredit anything here, but the matchups also clearly show that these are not top meta armies, in which case a wider range of Deathwatch lists can still bring home the results, as we will see in just a moment. For HQs, we have the Indomitus Lieutenant with the Dominus Sieges, as well as the Watchmaster with the Worken, Nowhere to Hide, and the paragon of their chapter, Ultramarines Warlord Trade. For troops, we then have an Indomitor kill team with 4 Eradicators and a single Inceptor, very old school that one, and 2 close combat oriented Proteus kill teams, Black Shields, Vets, Van Vets, a single Biker for access to the Stratagem, and a Watch Sergeant with a heavy Thunder Hammer. We then also have a Spectre's kill team with a combo I particularly like, 4 Bolt Sniper Eliminators and 1 Last Fusil Eliminator. What you can do here is basically pair the 4 Bolt Snipers with the Helix Adept, and then end up with 4 Infiltrators that also have a heavy weapons guy in the shape of the Last Fusil Eliminator along. Last but not least, 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts and a Relic Contender with 12 Volkites, still good additions even after the points hike. On rank 127 we have Dick Johnson, also going 2-2, playing a Costello-style Army of Renown list as we know it well by now. The remaining Deathwatch players are then a bit further behind, Kevin Bashford on rank 205, playing an Army of Renown list with double Corvus Black Stars, and Arthur Rutnarak on rank 250 playing a Firstborn exclusive list with several Proteus kill teams, 4 dedicated transports, and a veteran bike squad including an attack bike, and then finally Matt Cole on rank 254, also playing an Army of Renown list with double Corvus Black Stars. Well, you guys certainly rolled with style. Moving on to the third tournament, Confrontation Redemption, an event with 36 players over 5 rounds. Here we have a single Deathwatch player, Martin Waller, ending up on rank 13, going 3-2. His matchups were as following: Death Guard, Iron Hands, Craftworlds, Imperial Knights and Necrons. Here we have once more a non-Army of Renown list, with several interesting options that we don't get to see that often. For HQs, he has a Xenophage / Captain with Champack and Mastercrafted Weapon, as well as a Primaris Chaplain on bike. For troops, he has a Forest kill team with 5 Outriders, not the biggest fan of that since the FAQs. He then has a Proteus kill team with frag cannons, Infernus Heavy Bolter and Van Vets, in which I assume he combat squads the later. Then there is a second Proteus kill team with the minimum 5 models, bringing along more frag cannons. He then also has a Spectre's kill team with 5 Bolt Sniper Eliminators, always a great choice. For elites, he has a Primaris Apothecary with the Beacon and Chalice and the Redemptor Dreadnought. Then the big surprise for me personally, an Invader ATV with Multi-Melta, as well as a Stormspeeder Thunderstrike for fast attack, and then finally, rounding the list up with a Corvus Blackstar. Both the Stormspeeder and the Corvus count among the winners of the latest chapter approved 2022, benefiting from points drops. Perhaps a bit more of a casual list, but nonetheless looks like good fun to play. Moving on to the fourth tournament, the last of the Summer Winehammer 2, an event featuring 47 players over 5 rounds. 2 Deathwatch players were present here. On rank 31, we have once more Jim Maynard, going 2-3, with the same list as we have already seen at the Manchester Supermajor. His matchups were Custodes, Crusher Stampede, Raven Guard, Custodes and Tau, showing once more how brutal it is to play into the more recent codex creep. On rank 38, we have also Simon Minford, going 1-4, bringing along an Army of Renown with double Indomitor, Fortis with Assault Hellblasters, a Proteus as well as a Spectre's kill team. Shout out to his company champion aka Chuck Norris, which he upgraded to Chapter Champion and equipped him with the Blade of Triumph and the Imperium Sword. Then moving on to the 5th and last tournament, the Clutch City GT 2022, an event with 112 players going over 6 rounds, where I think that the honorable mention is in order. Phillip Bain, one of my Patreon subscribers, attended his first tournament with Deathwatch, an army that he had only started to fully assemble beginning of this year, ending up on rank 46, going 2-4. He played a version of the Army of Renown that I would consider more beginner friendly when compared to the meta list around Michael Costello's iteration. Picking the classic HQs, he had the Librarian, the Captain with the Dominus Sieges, as well as the Chaplain on bike with the Beacon and Chalice. For troops, 2 ranged kill teams, one being the Forest kill team with Assault Hellblasters, and then of course the Indomitor kill team with Boltstorm Aggressors, perfect for that specialism extremis stratagem. He then has 3 Proteus kill teams, one is basically a close combat one, and the other 2 are meant to be played with combat squads. One making use of infantry bikes thanks to the single Vanwet, and the other having 5 Vanwets with hammers. Last but not least, a Chief Apothecary with Selfless Healer, he has none less than me to blame for that. Overall, I think this is a good example of how meta lists can be adjusted to the personal playstyle and skill level, and before you know it, you have won your first 2 tournament matches. Great job, Phillip. All in all, I think that this month has pretty much been a 0 round for Deathwatch, with even Michael Costello struggling to still bring home the results against the latest codex creep. With basically no Space Marine or Deathwatch updates, it's going to be very difficult to still compete in this latest meta. Space Marine's attendance in general is very low, and while browsing the various tournament results, I have seen more than one former Deathwatch player now playing a more recent and successful codex. No slight intended, certainly the most efficient choice purely from a competitive perspective. For those sticking to Deathwatch, based on the results and matchups, the Army of Renown is still the way to go, and the Indomitor kill team with the Aggressors as well as the Costello-style Proteus kill teams are strong contenders for a competitive Deathwatch list. Michael Costello himself made a few adjustments, such as more Storm Shields and an extra Terminator into his Proteus kill teams, and changing the Spectre's kill team to a cheaper variant with Reavers, abandoning the previously used aggressive deployment option with the Lord of the Seed Warlord trait. Then perhaps most drastically, the change to the Xenophage/Captain. For those playing in a more casual setting, non-Army of Renown lists are still playable as well. If you have not seen my previous video dedicated to that, link is in the description. Same goes for the relevant tournament lists covered in this video. To wrap things up, over the course of the video, we have looked at Deathwatch March tournament results, including the Manchester Super Major, Adepticon 2022, Confrontation Redemption, Last of the Summer Winehammer 2, as well as a honorable mention. Next to the Town Custodes already dominating last month, we now also have the Clowns, boosted by an even more recent codex release, dominating the meta with absurd win rates. Whatever GW has been smoking during this edition, I hope they keep smoking it while doing the Space Marines Codex 2.0. Having said that, Michael Costello managed once more an excellent result at the Manchester Super Major, given circumstances, ending up on rank 31, the best Space Marine player of the tournament. For the remaining tournaments, the situation looks similar, with no further results above 3-2 or comparable, depending on the number of rounds. For now, the Army of Renown is still the way to go, and the Indomitor kill team with the Aggressors as well as the Costello-style Proteus kill teams are still strong contenders for a competitive Deathwatch list. Michael Costello himself made a few adjustments, such as more Storm Shields and an extra Terminator into his Proteus kill teams, changing the Spectre's kill team to a cheaper variant with Reavers, and adding the Xenophage/Captain. Link to his most recent list iteration is in the description. So that's it for the Deathwatch March tournament results and the continued appearances of our Army of Renown. What do you guys think about these particular lists? And do you think that the Kill Team Strike Force can still win any tournaments with such powerful opponents? How have you guys been doing against the most recent codex creep? Let me know in the comments. Finally, I would also like to mention that there is a SwissHammer Facebook page where I will be posting links to my videos as well as articles I find of interest. I do read a lot about the hobby, but not all of it will always end up as its own video. I look forward to seeing you there as well. I do also have a Patreon page. If you like my content, any additional support is greatly appreciated as it helps me invest into future videos. As always, thank you very much for watching, guys. Your continued support is greatly appreciated. I hope you have been enjoying this video. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks again and see you next time.